I'm filming this still at uni. It's Wednesday now, but yesterday we got an email to say all of our classes are being moved online until the end of term. So I won't have another face-to-face physically in front of my tutor until September.
26th of March 2020. The UK was put under strict lockdown rules to protect against the spread of coronavirus. We know that story. We lived it. My name is Freya Mardon, and I shared my experience of being a university student on a practical performance design course on social media, moving home, attending online classes, and showing the struggles of pursuing a highly practical course without the use of university facilities. Now, over 4 years on since the UK was first put into lockdown, I decided to reflect on the state of creative education during that time. I've interviewed a group of creative women whom each have a unique perspective of education in the time of COVID. Maya, who runs a software development company and a queer media collective in Hastings. Freya, who is about to embark on her own adventure at university studying graphic design. And Emma, a recent graduate in dance and performance. Maya and Freya attended school together and were approaching their GCSEs in 2020. Emma attended school elsewhere and at the time was studying for her A-levels. This was their experience at school when lockdown was first announced.
So I remember often being insisted by teachers that there was going to be no school closures and everything's just going to keep going as normal. And then obviously
the schools closed. People were being dragged out of school before anything actually shut down.
I'd just come back from a trip to New York for my A-level dance, and then 4 weeks later the world shut down and we were learning from home.
We haven't had anything like this in our lifetimes,
No.
or even the lifetimes of our parents, for that
No.
matter.
But yeah, I thought we'd be back in doing practical stuff in school again quite quickly.
Well, I thought that we would lock down a lot earlier than we actually did, especially reading reports from abroad where, schools in Germany, Canada, Australia were closing in February.
That was scary.
Whereas we were made it all the way up until April, which is crazy. I was expecting that we would end up taking more drastic action a lot quicker, and we just didn't.
With all three women getting to grips with the new normal, I asked them what their study during COVID was actually like, how it hindered their education and creative aspirations.
It was definitely a challenge. We had to move all the furniture out of our conservatory, so we had a designated dance studio at home. Yeah, it was definitely a challenge trying to choreograph my group choreography for A-level dance when I had minimal space. I was having to use my family members, teddy bears, anything to make up numbers so I had the right number of people and vaguely be able to space something. We were having to use the garden to practice lifts, and it was all a bit much.
I remember I have a few friends in the year above and their exams got cancelled, and that kind of made me think, our exams are probably going to be implicated by this. And I knew they would be because obviously we had a massive jolt in our learning and our education. But yeah, I was hoping that they wouldn't go through. But in the very beginning, I didn't think they'd be affected because we were only year 9. I think it was the beginning, middle of year 9.
None of us knew that COVID would go on for so long. We all
No.
thought it would be a 6-month thing, ended up being a 3 years thing.
Definitely, yeah. So in the very beginning, no, I wasn't even thinking about my exams. I was just thinking when am I going to next see my friends, or am I going to get this next assignment done in time? It was never, I was never thinking that long into the future, but then it kind of creeps up.
We managed to do some of it in studio, so we did manage to get some bits of everyone in the right space in a studio, but it was definitely a challenge.
I felt really annoyed by the way that stuff was communicated towards us, because a lot happened and we weren't explained why it was happening, and especially as well, I really didn't get along with the way that they were trying to teach us online, because I kind of require the presence of a teacher in order to actually learn anything.
As most people do.
And they were just giving us long books to read and stuff like that. I personally felt for my education style I was massively overlooked.
It's hard to know as well because obviously teachers have never experienced something like that. They didn't know what they were doing, so they're kind of just making the best out of a bad situation. But I think just in the aftermath of it all, it's very much been well, we didn't really know what we were doing there, so let's just
erase that
scrap
and move on to
that
the next
and
thing.
carry on.
I was trying to learn dances over Zoom when the internet would glitch and you'd be frozen and you wouldn't be able to pick up the next 4 steps because you'd frozen.
So I'm sat ready for class. My only classmate is the cat. This is me for the next 3 hours. So I've just had an hour and a half lecture. Now I have another hour where I can hop on and ask questions about the project or ask questions about where I think I can go, but it's with the whole class. So usually we'd be sat in class, we could ask questions, we could ask our peers, we could ask our tutors, and they're there. So this is kind of acting as a bit of class time. Now, having gained a deeper understanding of the student perspective, I wanted the story of an educator. So I sat down with music teacher Emma, who started her training in a school in September 2021. I asked her what she noticed about the day-to-day running of her school and how COVID affected hers and her students' experience.
My first day of working, so like training day was fine. It was like nothing had ever happened. And then the kids came in, and I was supposed to have my first ever class. I was so nervous. And my manager came up to me going, "Oh, you're not going to have them." I was like, "What do you mean I'm not going to have them?" They're like, "Oh, well, we've got them doing lateral flow tests. So every single person has to do a test before they can go into class.
Oh,
so
wow.
You're not going to have your class because it's going to take ages." I was
Okay.
like, "Oh, okay." And it was just such a weird norm at the time. Like, even this was September 2021.
Yeah.
So it had been a year and a bit since lockdown had first been kind of announced. And we were still like, right, if you're nervous, wear a mask. If we still need to test everybody. It was still at the point as well where if somebody had COVID, was it 2 weeks? Like, you'd still need to have time off. Like,
Yeah.
if a kid had COVID, like, nope, you're not coming in.
Yeah.
Stay away.
While studying for a job in the creative industries during COVID was a challenge, for those who already had jobs within the arts, working was even more complicated. In October 2020, a government-backed marketing campaign that encouraged retraining for people in the creative industries was brought to light. I asked these 4 women what they first thought of the campaign and whether it's affected their creative aspirations.
I think I saw it as a more like bigger picture kind of discrimination against creative subjects in general, and just the lack of importance of them, which I think is crazy because it holds so much importance to us as a society.
I mean,
as
what are we
human
if we're
beings.
not creative?
Exactly,
We're just
like,
zombies.
Biologically, like, you know, we want to know things and we want to be creative and we want to make art and we want to make music and perform and do all of that.
I thought it was all just a bit silly because at the end of the day, people want to be entertained by something down the creative path. Not everyone wants to become an accountant or a lawyer. Like, you need the creative outlet to be entertained. Like, West End casts aren't made up of accountants and lawyers. They're made up of people who have gone out to train creatively.
One of the things I find irresponsible about this whole situation was just that everything was very short-sighted. Because in the long term, we still need creatives, and we always will be. No matter if, you know, AI becomes 3 times more advanced, that's not creativity. True creativity is us as people. And if we lose that, then what do we become?
I've got so many kids where, like, they're either, you know, they're at their last year and they're going to be finishing GCSEs by next year, or they've just started, and if anything, they have more potential than ever. They're like, no, this is what I want to do. I know I want to be able to do this, and I'm going to do it no matter what.
I knew from quite a young age that I always wanted to perform, and nothing was going to stop me from doing that.
Well, I'm not being funny, but we've just done a whole summer of like lockdown and stuff. How many people have consumed content? How many people have listened to music, listened to podcasts, watched TV, streamed stuff? You know, that doesn't happen without a very specially trained group of people, you know? So, yeah, that was kind of my thoughts on it anyway.
Sound rolling?
Recording.
Scene 13, take 1, and...
I had a lot of hope for creativity when COVID started. I had a dream that, you know, we would end up in a future where, you know, creativity is as standard in schools. And I thought that maybe with a like a reform in education, or just COVID changing anything about education that would enable more creativity in the next generation. And it is quite upsetting to see that that wasn't the case for the broader education system in general, except for me personally. I feel like COVID really enabled my creativity. It unlocked it in a way that nothing has been able to before. And I've been able to create such big things from such little, just by being inspired by the way that the world changed.
I think I was very lucky with the outcome of my own creative journey after COVID. I think, you know, my confidence was shot, but I still pushed through. I think that taught me a lot of like self-growth and self-perseverance. But I just hope that if the same situation were to happen again, that there isn't that level of focus on creative industries being unimportant or not valued in a society where, you know, we're in a pandemic or just any kind of global catastrophe situation. And I hope that there isn't children who feel like their passions and their creativity is useless. So yeah, I feel very lucky that I persevered and that I still kept my passion for graphics.
It's allowed me to continue to explore my passion for dance and express myself in a way that shows how much I want to pursue a career in the performing arts industry.
Music gives me a purpose, I think, for definite, whether that's as a consumer, whether that's as a musician myself, as a performer, as a teacher. It surrounds everything in my life in good ways and bad ways.
Yeah.
It means everything to me. Not having that creative part of my life, it'd be so boring. It just really would. I wouldn't know what to do.
Through talking to these 4 incredibly creative women, I've discovered the effects of COVID over different levels of education, and how despite the restrictions placed upon us as a nation in 2020 and the challenges the arts industry as a whole has faced over the past 4 years, our ability and drive to create is what will allow the industry to thrive long into the future.
Do you want to talk over here?
Yeah, I'm talking to like my bag.
Okay.
Is where I'm aiming for.
Okay, camera rolling.
Sound recording.
Okay, we did get no education. Scene 14, shot 1, take 2, and market.
I haven't rearranged the questions to make them make sense for you. I haven't sorted those out yet, so we are going to be winging this.
So you look directly into camera. Emma, do you mind saying your name and spelling it for me, please?
Like first name and last name?
Yeah.
Okay. Emma Hine, EMMAHINE.
If you need software development, go to honeybankstudios.com, or if you need media production, go to trill.fm.
And if you want a graphic designer,
FreyaBillick.com, except from
there's no
that
website.
doesn't exist.